The glass door slammed shut behind me with a hollow clang, the kind that echoes longer than it should. My eyes squinted into the bright, blistering light of the Nevada sun. The world outside had turned into this surreal, heat-drenched landscape, where nothing quite looked right anymore. The pavement rippled. The air smelled like tar and dust. My red sneakers scraped against loose gravel as I stepped back out into the empty lot, blinking against the light. I scanned the parking area automatically, expecting the dusty red Subaru to be right where it had been, maybe around the corner of the station, or behind one of the pumps, or just beyond the vending machine I'd stood at moments earlier. But there was nothing. Just a lonely stretch of concrete and a fading tire mark that pointed down the highway. Before I tell you the rest, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. It helps. More than you know. And I want to hear your thoughts on this story. I remember my stomach tightening. Not in fear, not yet, but in confusion. That innocent kind of confusion only kids can truly feel, the kind that doesn't know yet how bad something might be, but senses it deep in the bones. The kind that makes you keep glancing around like maybe this is a prank, a surprise, a mistake. Waited there. I stood still in the middle of that cracked gas station lot like a broken toy left out in the sun. The crow on the power line above me squawked once and flew off, and I remember following it with my eyes, watching it disappear into the sky, wanting to fly after it, needing anything to distract me from the swelling panic blooming in my chest. They just stepped away, I told myself. They're circling the block. They're testing the tires. They're coming back with snacks. Maybe they forgot something inside and parked somewhere else. I repeated that last one more than once. They'll be back. They'll be back. They'll be back. But they didn't come back. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. I remember because I stared at the digital numbers on the payphone next to the vending machine, watching the minutes tick forward like a countdown to something I couldn't name. Inside the station, the man behind the counter, a thin guy with a bushy gray mustache and a dirty trucker cap, kept glancing at me through the window. At first, he didn't say anything. Then, around the 40th minute, he came out. "You all right, buddy?" he asked, shielding his eyes from the sun. I nodded. Lying felt easier than the truth. "Just waiting," I said. "Your folks inside?" I shook my head. "You got a number for them? You need help?" I shook my head again. It wasn't that I didn't want help. It's that something inside me hadn't accepted it yet. If I admitted I needed help, then I'd be admitting they weren't coming back. I wasn't ready for that. My heart still believed they were just late. That something had gone wrong and they'd be pulling in any moment, apologizing and hugging me and asking what snacks I wanted. But the sun kept climbing. Shadows stretched longer. My mouth went dry. Eventually, I walked back inside the station. The man behind the counter offered me a bottle of warm Sprite. I took it without saying anything. It was too sweet, too fizzy. It made my throat hurt, but I drank every drop because I didn't know what else to do. "You want to call someone?" he asked. "My parents will come back," I whispered. He nodded slowly, like he'd heard that before. The rest of that day moved in a blur. I sat on a cracked plastic chair near the magazine rack, staring at a copy of Popular Mechanics I couldn't understand. I think I read the same sentence 20 times without realizing it. The man, his name was Daryl, I'd learn later, called the sheriff after a while. Said he didn't feel right letting a kid sit there alone for so long. I wanted to protest. I wanted to yell that everything was fine, but I couldn't find the words. My voice had folded in on itself. When the sheriff arrived, his belt creaked. When he walked and he smelled like sweat and gasoline. He crouched in front of me, all beard and sunburned skin. "You sure your folks didn't say where they were going?" "They said they'd be right back." "You got a number for them?" "I don't remember." "What about your address?" "I don't know it." He sighed. "All right, son, we'll figure it out." But they didn't. They didn't figure it out. They drove me to the local sheriff's station, one tiny building with a jail cell that smelled like bleach and regret, and gave me a sandwich. I didn't eat it. I just held it in my lap and stared at the crust until it curled dry at the edges. They asked me the same questions again and again. My name, my parents' names, where we were going, where I lived. I gave them what I could. But I didn't know the address. I didn't know my mom's phone number. I didn't know what city we were headed to. It was a road trip, I told them. That's all I knew. Eventually, someone from Child Services came. Her name was Rhonda. She had kind eyes and talked to me like I was older than 10, which made me like her. She knelt down beside my chair and said, "We're going to find a safe place for you tonight, okay? Just until we figure things out." And that's when it finally hit me. They weren't coming back. My parents, my little sister, the red Subaru. Gone. It didn't feel real. Not even as I climbed into the back of Rhonda's state car. Not even as the gas station faded in the side mirror. Not even as I curled up in the back seat and pressed my face to the glass, willing myself to wake up. But this wasn't a nightmare. It was the start of 15 years, and I still didn't know why. The foster home smelled like boiled cabbage and pine sol, and the walls were painted a yellow so pale it almost looked sick. I spent the first 3 nights staring at the ceiling, listening to a boy in the next room cry himself to sleep, and another one whispering to someone in his dreams. My room was small, 2 bunk beds, a plastic dresser missing 1 drawer, and a nightlight shaped like a turtle that barely worked. The woman who ran the place, Miss Jeannie, spoke like she was always tired. She wasn't cruel, but she wasn't soft either. She had too many kids to look after and not enough help to do it. On the 4th day, Rhonda came back. She brought me a backpack filled with donated clothes, a toothbrush, and a stuffed animal that still smelled like someone else's detergent. She crouched down in front of me again. Same kind eyes, same warm voice. She told me they were doing everything they could to find my family. I asked her if they'd found the car. She said no. I asked if they'd found my little sister. She said no. I asked her if they were even looking. She didn't answer that one. The days started to blur. Went to school with the other kids, but I never really talked. My name was still the gas station kid to the staff. I didn't want to make friends. I didn't want to unpack that backpack. I was afraid if I put my things in a drawer, it meant I was staying. And I didn't want to stay. I wanted my mom to come walking through the door with her sunglasses on her head saying, "There you are, honey. Sorry, we just got turned around." I wanted my dad to scoop me up and ruffle my hair and say, "We'd never forget you, champ." I wanted Maya to whine that I got all the attention again, but they didn't come. Weeks turned into months. The case went cold. No license plate had been written down. No security cameras worked that day. No one remembered seeing a woman, a man, and a little girl leave in a red Subaru. It was like they had disappeared into the heat shimmer of that parking lot, like they'd never existed at all. After 6 months, I stopped asking. After a year, I stopped hoping. I was moved to a different home, then another. Some were better. Some were worse. One had a foster dad who drank and called me names I still don't say out loud. Another had a woman who sang to her plants but never hugged her kids. I learned how to stay quiet, how to shrink, how to say thank you with my eyes but not with my mouth. I learned how to pretend I didn't care. I stopped being 10 somewhere along the way. I don't remember my 11th birthday. No cake, no candles. Just a paper plate of spaghetti and a secondhand pair of shoes that didn't fit. I stopped being a boy who was left behind and became a boy who lived in the system. And once you're in, it's hard to get out. Every time a family considered adopting me, they'd look at my file and ask about the abandonment, about the trauma, about why I didn't talk much. By the time I was 13, I'd lived in 7 different homes. By 15, I'd stopped unpacking completely. And by 17, I'd stopped believing anyone really wanted me at all. That year, I got lucky, or maybe unlucky depending on how you look at it. I was placed with a family called the Morrises. They were kind, in that careful way people are when they know they're dealing with something breakable. Mr. Morris was a high school history teacher. Mrs. Morris worked from home as a copy editor. They had 2 older kids, both out of the house, already, and a golden retriever named Captain. I was their first foster, and they treated me like I was their last chance at doing something good. They didn't ask too many questions. They didn't press. They made dinner every night. They invited me to sit with them, even when I didn't speak. They left a nightlight in the hallway. They bought me a new winter coat. I didn't love them, not at first. I didn't trust love anymore. But they were steady, and that steadiness grew on me like ivy. When I graduated high school, they were in the crowd, clapping loudest. They cried. I didn't. I felt empty, numb, like the whole day was happening to someone else. But I said thank you. I let them hug me. I smiled for pictures. Then I left. I got a job at a coffee shop and rented a studio apartment with one window, and a bathroom sink that whined like a ghost when you turned it. I started community college classes at night. Psychology, trauma theory, case studies. I wanted to understand the thing that had happened to me. I wanted to turn my pain into purpose. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I learned enough, I'd feel less hollow inside. But no amount of textbooks could answer the question that still lived inside my ribcage like a splinter under skin. Why did they leave me? I Googled my parents' names every week. I searched social media. I scoured missing person forums. Nothing, no records, no arrests, no accidents, no deaths. They hadn't died. They had vanished, like shadows on hot pavement. And then, one day, something changed. It started with a voicemail. A scratchy, static-filled message left on my old prepaid phone. I almost deleted it. I didn't recognize the number. But something in me, something old and half-dead, told me to press play. And what I heard shattered everything I'd built to survive. A woman's voice, cracked, breathless, faint. I don't know if this number still works. I don't know if you'll ever get this. But I had to try. I had to try. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Then a click. No name. No number saved. Just the ghost of someone I hadn't heard in 15 years. But I knew. I knew that voice. It was her. It was my mother. And that was the day everything I thought I buried came clawing back up from the dirt. For hours, I just stared at my phone. I replayed the voicemail over and over, letting her voice fill my ears like smoke from a fire I thought I'd escaped long ago. The crackle, the pauses, the way she said baby. My throat burned with things I hadn't let myself feel in years. Anger, grief, fear, hope. Hope was the worst. I'd spent so long burying it, suffocating it, locking it in some internal attic where it couldn't hurt me. But there it was again, alive and writhing. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed, knees pulled up to my chest like a child again, my eyes fixed on the phone screen. I must have written 20 messages to that unknown number, each one filled with trembling questions, rage, silence, and deleted them all before pressing send. What if it wasn't real? What if someone was messing with me? What if it was a mistake? But the truth was, no one else on earth could say baby like that and split my soul in two. The next day, I went to work like a ghost. I made coffee. I smiled at customers. I burned my hand on the espresso machine and didn't feel it. After my shift, I called the number back. It was disconnected. Just like that. Gone. Like it had never existed. I fell apart. For the first time since that gas station, I broke. Fully. Violently. Loudly. I punched the wall in my apartment, screamed into a pillow, ripped the sheets off my bed, and threw them across the room. I didn't want answers anymore. I wanted to undo it all. I wanted to be 10 again. I wanted to walk out of that bathroom and find the Subaru still there, my mom waving from the driver's seat, my sister asleep in the back, my dad asking if I brought chips. I wanted a life that didn't end in a voicemail. But this time I didn't stay broken. Because now I had something. A voice. Proof. A trail. So I did what I hadn't done in years. I called Rhonda. She was retired now, but she remembered me. Immediately. The gas station boy, she said, her voice soft. I never forgot you. I told her about the voicemail. She listened without interruption. Then she asked me for the number, even though it was already disconnected. She told me she still had contacts. She said she'd try. A week later, she called me back. She'd traced the call to a disposable cell purchased at a drugstore in Gallup. New Mexico, cash only, no ID, but that was something. That night, I packed a bag. I left a note for the Morrises just in case. I didn't know what I was expecting. A confrontation? A reunion? An explanation? All I knew was that I couldn't keep living in the question mark of it all. I needed the period. I needed the ending. Gallup was a 10-hour drive. I barely blinked the whole way there. The town was small, dusty, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, but no one knows everything. I started at the pharmacy that sold the burner phone. The clerk was young, disinterested, and didn't remember anything. But she pointed me to the manager, an older woman with a limp and sharp eyes. "I remember her," she said after I showed her a photo. An old picture of my mom, the only one I had, from a school event when I was 7. She looked tired, nervous, bought a burner phone, bottled water, Tylenol, asked for directions to a shelter. A shelter. It was like chasing a ghost through ashes, but I followed it. The shelter was on the edge of town, run down, half-boarded windows, no sign out front. Inside, a woman at the desk looked me up and down and said, "We don't take men overnight." "I'm not here for a bed," I said. "I'm looking for someone." I showed the picture again, explained the story, piece by piece, trying not to tremble. She stared at it for a long time, then said, "She stayed here. About 3 weeks ago, didn't say much, kept to herself." My heart was hammering. "Did she leave a name?" The woman nodded. "Said it was Mary Adams, but I don't think that was real." Of course it wasn't. She gave me a room number. Said she was gone now. Said she'd left early one morning without a word. But I went to the room anyway. It was small, dirty. A mattress on the floor. A chipped mirror. No sign of her. Nothing that said mother. Nothing that said, "I love you." Just a faint smell of cheap soap and something underneath that I couldn't name. Grief, maybe. Regret. That night, I walked the streets of Gallup in the dark, haunted by what-ifs. What if she was still here? What if I was too late? What if she'd seen me coming and ran again? But the next morning, everything changed. I was drinking bitter diner coffee when I saw her. At first, I didn't believe it. My brain didn't know how to connect her to the older woman walking slowly down the sidewalk outside. She was thinner. Her hair was shorter, streaked with gray. Her shoulders were hunched like the years had stacked bricks on her back. But when she turned slightly, I saw her profile. That nose, that chin, that mouth. It was her. My mother. She didn't see me through the window. I stood up so fast, I knocked the mug off the table. It shattered on the floor, but I didn't stop. I ran. I burst through the door, out into the sunlight, calling her name. The old name. The real one. "Mom." She turned, and the look in her eyes when she saw me, my God. It was like watching someone wake up from a coma and remember everything, all at once. Her hand flew to her mouth. She whispered my name, the real one, over and over, like a prayer she thought she'd lost the words to. Then she collapsed to her knees in the middle of the street, sobbing. And I didn't know if I should run to her or run away. I stood frozen as cars slowed around us, drivers leaning out their windows, confused by the scene. A grown man standing like stone, and a woman on her knees in the middle of the road, shaking with sobs that didn't sound human. It didn't feel real. The heat from the pavement curled around us like the memory of that first day, that gas station, that last moment before everything shattered. I stepped toward her. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me, like I was watching someone else move through the scene, someone braver, someone stronger. But it was me. It was me who knelt down, heart hammering, and reached out a trembling hand to touch her shoulder. She flinched at first, like the weight of even a touch might undo her, then she grabbed my wrist so tightly it hurt. She looked up. Her face was older, gaunter, her skin weathered by time and sun and guilt, but her eyes, those eyes, were exactly the same. I used to look into them when she read to me at night. I used to see the stars in them. Now I saw storms. I thought you died, she whispered. I said nothing. I couldn't. There were no words big enough to hold what I felt. Rage, relief, disbelief, longing, all battling inside me like fire and flood. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to bury myself in her arms. I wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but I couldn't speak. I just knelt there, looking at her, breathing her in, like if I blinked, she'd vanish again. She pulled me into her arms. I didn't move. She said my name again. Soft, broken. You're alive. You're alive. People were watching. A woman across the street pulled out her phone. But I didn't care. Let them see. Let the world stop. This was my apocalypse and my resurrection. And in that moment, time paused for the first time in 15 years. We moved to the sidewalk. She sat down on a bench and held my hand like she couldn't bear to let go. I let her. I was still half numb, half waiting for reality to yank me back into the loneliness I'd lived in for so long. Then came the questions and the answers. She told me everything. She said they hadn't meant to leave me. At least, not at first. She said the fight had started that morning in the motel, the one just outside Tonopah. My dad had been drinking again. He'd been angry that I kept asking to stop for snacks, for bathroom breaks, for things kids ask for. She said he snapped when I spilled juice in the back seat. They'd fought all the way to the gas station. She said he told her to drive while he went inside for cigarettes, but he never came out. She waited. 10 minutes. 15. She went to look and found him gone, just gone. Left his wallet on the bathroom sink, left his wedding ring on the edge of the sink basin. Gone. She didn't know what to do. She panicked. She had no money, no license. My sister had started crying in the back seat. She said she thought, she hoped, I was with him, that maybe he'd taken me somewhere for a joke or a walk. That he'd be back with me in 5 minutes, but he wasn't, and when she realized it, she froze. I was terrified, she said, her voice trembling. I wasn't well. I wasn't safe. I thought, if I went back, they'd take Maya too. I didn't know how to fix it. I thought I'd come back. I swear I did. She told me she'd circled the highway 3 times before finally driving off. She drove until the car died. Then she disappeared, changed her name, found odd jobs, stayed in motels, slept in shelters, carried Maya on her hip through towns no one cared to remember, always planning to go back, never finding the courage. I thought you'd hate me, she said. I hated me. I was crying, but I didn't know when I'd started. What about Maya? I asked. Where is she? She's here, she said, and her voice cracked, in a new way. She's 19 now. She's in college. She doesn't know the truth. My heart twisted. Can I see her? I whispered. I don't know, she said. I don't know if she's ready. I don't know if you're ready. We sat there for hours, talking, not talking, staring at each other like we were trying to remember and forget at the same time. She gave me an old wallet photo of me and Maya, faded and bent, edges frayed like everything else she owned. I stared at it until the world blurred. When the sun dipped below the rooftops, she asked if she could hug me again. This time, I let her, and I hugged her back. It didn't fix anything. It didn't erase the 15 years. It didn't take away the birthdays I spent alone, or the homes I was shuffled through, or the endless ache of not knowing why. But it was something. It was a beginning. The next week, I met Maya. She was taller than I expected. Wiser, sharper. She looked like our mother, but her eyes were mine. When she saw me, she didn't run. She didn't cry. She just stared. Then she said, "You're real." And I nodded. Yeah, I am. We talked for hours. She told me what she remembered. The car rides, my jokes, the games we used to play with juice boxes and goldfish crackers. She told me she always felt like something was missing, but never knew what. Now she did. I don't know if we'll ever be a family again. Not in the way we might have been. But we talk now. We text. We're building something fragile, beautiful, scarred. As for my mother, I don't know what she'll be to me. She's a ghost and a wound and a thread I'll always follow. But she came back. In the only way she could. And maybe that has to be enough. I still go back to that gas station sometimes, just to stand there, just to see if I still feel like the boy who was left behind, but I don't, not anymore. Now, I'm the man who was found.